we are very delighted to have everyone who is in the house here with us. A special thanks to our special guests and our guest poets who have so graciously accepted to come on this event today. This is supposed to be a festival. It's supposed to be a talk fest. It's supposed to be a dialogue session where everything about the environment, especially as it concerns the theme of this year, which is biodiversity, will be covered. We will talk and then we will share poetry, good poetry, by the way, about the subject of the environment. The environment generally and biodiversity as it concerns Nigeria, and then the connection between what we do as writers and activists in the quest for a better environment for every one of us. So once again, my name is Ekaite George. I'm a writer. I'm an environmental enthusiast. I care about the environment because I believe that the environment is where our life source stems. So if we take care of it, it takes care of us. More so now that we find ourselves in the era of the COVID-19 pandemic, I'm really delighted that we're all in this room because this means that we've survived and we're going to continue to survive. But these are difficult times for everyone. These are tumultuous times. There are some days that we just personally have struggled with these times. The anxieties are huge. You don't know if you step out of the house, whether you're going to come back sick, or even whether you're going to come back sick and then make other people in your home sick. That's big. And then when it comes to work as writers, it unsettles us so much that sometimes you can't even find the calm to write. But the fact that we're in this room means that we're all survivors and we're going to continue to survive even more than we've survived already. So welcome to the Dialogue and Poetry Festival. My name is Ekaite George. I'm a writer. I write poetry and all other things writable. We have with us some very eminent persons who are going to make presentations and read poetry. One of them is Odia Ofemo. He informed me that he's going to be here shortly. He informed me that he was trying to connect. We understand how internet can be. So let's give him a little time to come. We also have Nimo Basi, who is a global environmental activist. He has agreed to talk to us today about the subject that we're going to talk about. And then we have on the lineup also Diana Basi. Diana Basi is in the room, a poet and an author. We have Uzo Nwamara. Uzo Nwamara is a poet. We have Odo Diego Okeyodo. Okeyodo is in the house. We are happy to have you with us. Yeah, we have also Fortune George. Fortune George is in the house with us. Can you wave to everyone who is in the house? We have Chizi Ogumbada, a researcher and a wine lover. Please take notes. We have to find out how he gets his wine. So in case if he's doing bad by the environment, we stop him. Graciano Enwerem. Graciano, I'm not sure he's in the house already, but he will be here soon. We have Usman. Adamu Usman. Adamu, are you here still? Can I? I'm not seeing him on my screen, but he was here earlier. Adamu is a student who writes poetry from Gombe State, and he will make some presentations and we'll see what he has to offer. But he's just, when I read his bio, I think that he's done remarkably well for a young person who has shown much interest in writing and now writing for the environment. We also have Betty Abba. Betty Abba is a child's rights advocate, gender activist, and an environmental activist. She's in the house as well. Professor E.E. Sule is going to be here with us. I don't know if he has joined us already. Some people are still trying to join. Please bear with us because we understand how internet is. I hope the people at the back end are taking note of people who are trying to join. Obarigomba is supposed to be with us. I haven't seen him here yet. Finehas Udoyo is the co-host today. Fina Azudoyo, are you here? Please, can you put your video on so the guests will see you? He's a co-host on today's program. Mr. Chizi Ogumbada is also a co-host. If for any reason, maybe internet or whatever, I'm not here, the two of them can take up from where I stop. So why is it important that we meet here today? The environment, like we mentioned before, is key to our survival and existence. The balance between all of the living things, all of the things in nature will ensure that we have our livelihoods are preserved and our health and our lives as well are preserved. So we decided that on this World Environment Day, in order to raise awareness on the issues of the environment and also to make our own propositions and ideas known to others about what we can do, what we haven't done already, because we know that we have issues that are begging for attention in Nigeria. For instance, erosion, oil spills in the Niger Delta where I live, desertification in the north, and other parts of Nigeria suffering from loss of natural habitats from human activity. So we can sit down here and talk about how we can do better, what we have done wrong and how we can avoid it. And most importantly, how writers and activists can form a synergy where they can do their works together as advocates for the environment. Okay, I wanted to see whether Mr. Odia Ofemun has been able to join us, but I can't see him now. So I think I'm going to shift the panel on energy and gender up now so we can begin to have the discussion that we're supposed to have later on in the program now. The panel discussion, have you shared the program? Please share the program now. I know that the special guests have the program of the event. Please, if you look on your program now, you will find the item that is, okay, well, before we start the panel, let's just have an introduction. Let's just have an introductory performance by Ikwo Diana Basil and use it to buy time. See if some of the other distinguished guests can come on before we move it up. Ikwo, are you on? Phone. Ikwo, is Ikwo ready for us now? My phone. Okay, if Ikwa is not ready, Fortune, can you give us a presentation where, for a minute, before we go over to the next item on the program?
Okay, like the actual presentation or any presentation at all.
Did you please spotlight Fortune? Ikwa, are you back now? Are you ready for us, please?
I'm sorry. What would you like me to do?
Whatever you choose to do. Thrill us.
Oh, you'd like me to start?
Yes, please. Go ahead. I think that.
Just checking. Will I still do this again?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. So let me do a piece. I would like to have some response. I don't know how many of us have our mics on.
Please check if people.
I'd like to do a call and response. Hello.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
We can hear you.
Please type ID and password.
Okay.
You have the ID.
So I'd like to start with a folk song. And I think those of you have a mic song can please respond. So it will be call and response. Okay? The call will be the response will be Your response is
Okay.
I'll go first. Ekonke. I'm not sure how that went. Did you all hear me?
Yes, we did.
So the meaning of that short song, it simply says you have words come and words go. But no matter how fierce sometimes the war is, the war doesn't kill everybody. There has to be one person. So there are lots of keys, but I'm not sure if you can know.
I think we have to leave that one for my.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you can hear me. There's so much.
Okay, please, can every other person mute their microphones now? Equal, thank you so much for that presentation. I got a little delay something. Thank you for Ekonke. I think that the people here should understand that the language of this event is from the state of Akwa Ibom, and nobody will be offended by it, Sabi. Thank you. Thank you.
No, that's the reason why I gave an interpretation of what I studied.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, after that introductory presentation by Ikwo Dianabasi, we'll have to move on to the first item on the panel discussion now. We have Mr. Nimobasi in the house right now. Welcome to WED Dialogue and PoetryFest, sir. So I want to introduce the panel. Nimobasi Okon. Is Okon in the house? I don't think she's here right now. We also have Professor Isule. I haven't seen him yet, so we'll step it up now. We'll bring Mr. Tija Bolton on that panel. Tija Bolton, Nimobasi, Betty Abba. Betty is in the room. Sir, the discussion is titled Biodiversity in Nigeria, the Arts and Activism Nexus. But before we go into the chat, we will want to hear introductory words from Nimobasi to us on why it's important for us to organize for nature. I yield the floor to you, sir.
Hello, Ekaite. Thank you so much for organizing this event. It's so good to see all of you. What an array of eggheads and people with strong knuckles on the keyboards. I think I have a very short comment at this time. I must apologize for joining late. I was in a very tiring, another event that was very tiring, started very late, and then you have government officials who speak for. without an end. And yeah, the connection between poetry, connection between arts and activism, biodiversity cannot be, there's no space between the two, the environment. All our stories are just about the environment and what is going around us. The challenge is, and I think this is what we want to do, to ensure that we get reconnected to ourselves and recognize the fact that humans are part of biodiversity. It's just that the difference is that we are the most dangerous predator in the environment. We are destroying other species, but we're just one of them. And personally, I look at...
You have to go to the stop now.
So, I like us to look at ourselves as part of nature and look at every other being as our relatives. So the birds, the insects, the worms, they're all our relatives. In fact, each human being is a big ecosystem because we have millions of organisms living inside us. It's like each person is a government. A situation, an event like this brings us together to remind ourselves that although we may have art just for the sake of having art, but art must have a purpose. There must be an aim, an objective. What do we want to achieve with the line we wrote, with the cartoon we drew, with the story we're telling? And each one, of course, must be, to me, to add to the value of the space in which we found ourselves. So, Ekaite, you didn't do something in mind, but that I believe we are here to talk about, and to challenge ourselves to become activists with our song, with our poems. And indeed, we have a very high pedestal and capacity to penetrate the hearts of women and men with the products that we bring out. And so if we're silent, if we decide to go to Afghanistan when Nigeria is on fire, then we are losing a very big opportunity to make a difference in the struggle for a saner environment and for safer collection of biodiversity, devoid of human manipulation, devoid of things that make us lose our sense of reasoning, as we are seeing globally at the moment, when we surrender our position of directing change to the 1%, whose objective is profit, power, domination, and everything apart from what would give us the good life. Or if you speak my language, etiuwen. That should be our objective, to build the good life, to build etiuwen, to build Ubuntu, which means my humanity will move forward cooperatively. That's a very long speech.
No, not at all. I mean, I was waiting to hear more. I didn't even take note of any time at all. Thank you so much, sir. You see, we can all see that I wasn't wrong when I said the language of this event is from Akwa Ibom State. So thank you for that good introduction. Let's just dive into the panel discussion now. Before I do that, I want to mention that our poet of honor, Odia Ofemun, is in the building. He just came in while Mr. Nimobasi was giving his introductory speech. So before we go on to the discussion, we'd like to give him a few minutes to talk to us, to welcome us to the aspect of this event that is poetry. You have the floor now, sir. I hope you're hearing me. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. It looks like, from what I'm seeing on the screen, it looks like his internet is giving him a little bit of issue. Can we hear from our poet of honor, sir? Please, can you? Okay. Okay, I think we lost him. While we wait for him to come back, let's go to the panel on biodiversity in Nigeria, the arts and activism nexus. We have, like I said, we have to take up some people. We have Mr. Tija Bolton here, Miss Betty Abba, Mr. Nimobasi, and now we're going to have to co-opt Mr. Okenyodo Diego. Can all of the panelists say a little bit about the need for the connection between the two? I want to start with
taking the shot.
I want to start with Ms. Betty Abba now. Hello. Okay. Please, I think we have to bear with each other because some of these issues that we're having now are caused by poor internet. So please, we'll move on. Ms. Betty Abba seems to have gone off. So Mr. Nimobasi, please, can you open up the discussion with the other panel members? Mr. Okenyodo, Mr. Tija Bolton, who is here, and Ms. Betty Abba, who joins us. Thank you, sir.
Tija Bolton
I think I would like to hear Tija. Tija. So why don't you surrender that space for Tija to go ahead, and I'll come in after him.
Ah, that's a huge one, Reverend. Good morning, or good afternoon, rather. That's if you're in this part of the world. I can see you are. All right. So good afternoon, everyone. So when my mentor and big brother Nemo was talking, I was paying attention keenly, and out of everything he said, I mean, everything made so much sense in the context of the conversation we are going to be having this afternoon. But one word really struck me, and that word is Ubuntu. So vibrating on the same frequency with other species is very important. So when we talk about Ubuntu in terms of connecting our different humanities, you know, we look at it only in terms of human versus human. We don't look at Ubuntu in terms of the connection and the harmony that we're expected to have as human species on the one hand, and other millions or billions, as it were, of other species on the other hand. So I think while Nemo was speaking, that's really got into my head, that yes, it's important for us to achieve, you know, Ubuntu between human species, but for us to make sense of our environment and make the proper transition that we need to make towards sustainability, it will be important for us to begin to think in terms of an environmental Ubuntu, you know, so that came to me. The other thing that came to me too is the issue of how we construct arts and the debt we owe to the environment. So whether it is our songs, folklore, like the one Ikwo shared with us, whether it's our stories we are telling, we owe a huge debt to the environment in terms of the motifs, the imagery that we harvest to produce these works of art. So whether it is Ikwo talking about a 4-year-old or it's someone else talking about Gabriel Okara talking about the call of the river known. Or whoever talking about, you know, there is almost always a huge debt to be paid to the environment, you know, whether it is the landscapes, whether it's environmental products, you know, resources that we extract from the environment, and even the environment in a negative sense, in terms of the messages we try to push out there on the bad hitting that the environment is taking, you know, from humankind. So if we were to pay debts, you know, to nature for these artistic, would I call it exploitation, you know, the harvest, you know, of imagery that we get from the environment, that debt would surely be enormous. So, but we get all this for free from nature, as it were, and which brings us to the point of giving back to nature, which connects to the point on the role of the artist in terms of the social, the social objects, you know, of art. So we need to pay more attention to that social object by making sure that while we try to project beauty for its own sake, artistic beauty for its own sake, it's important for us to use art as activists, in the words of Ekaite, the organizer of this event. So as activists, we have a huge role to play. There is a huge plunder on the environment going on around us, especially in this region, the Niger Delta. The continuous extraction and mindless extraction of resources from the environment.
We have to inform you that your time, we want to hear from everyone on that panel. So please round up so that we can have a minute from everyone on the panel. Thank you.
Beautiful. Okay.
Can everyone put their microphone?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know my time. Mindless extraction that's going on in this. Okay, so I was saying that the mindless extraction of natural resources that's going on in our region is a big reason why artists should pay attention.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Tija. Mr. Nimo, do you want to speak, or we allow Mr. Okenyodo to tell us a little bit about what he thinks about this subject of biodiversity in Nigeria at the moment?
I'm happy to stay quiet for some time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's my pleasure. Can everybody hear me? I know that my bandwidth is a bit low.
Very clearly.
Okay. One of the things that has been of interest to me, watching what Nimo Bassey has done in the past, and is that if you are a writer and you want to become an activist, writing alone is not the tool you need. You need to get some other tools if you want to communicate, to create social change. No policymaker just reads a piece of writing and decides to go and just clean up the environment. Or do what is right. Like in Zamfara, in 2012, 450 children died of lead poisoning because of illegal mining. Nobody will just read a poem and just say, we want to remedy that. There is a whole process of advocacy and activism that writers need to learn to add to their craft, to be able to create change, be able to create lasting change. I believe that when an advocate, you have other skills, even that are related to your literary craft, that writers need to adopt. We need to be able to learn how to write policy briefs, for instance. We need to take on skills in organizing beyond just our literary groups. We need to know how to connect with other writers, other organizations across different parts. So the concept of Ubuntu, as Nimobasi had also raised, is very important. But Ubuntu also within the sphere of those of us that are concerned. If we want to have a change in a policy, who is going to draft the law? Who's going to write that? Who is going to write that policy brief? Who is going to create campaigns, go to change.org or raise funds using ComFundMe, GoFundMe, or different platforms? Writers, as we are concerned mostly with our craft, have refused to learn those. And it's okay if you don't want to be an activist for the environment or for any other cause. If you want to be an activist for any cause, then you know that writing alone does not create the change. That's really the brief remark I want to.
Thank you so much.
So that I allow others speak.
Thank you. I think the takeaway from what I hear is writers need to acquire tools that will help them to write for the environment. So it's not enough to just write. It's also important to begin to learn about the subject which we want to advocate for, so that our writings can be more impactful. I would like to hear what Ms. Betty Abba has to say on this subject. So if you do not want to write as an activist, but you just want to write to tell a story about what is happening, how can you now, what's the link? How can we bring this into the subject of what we are writing for the environment? And particularly now we are talking about biodiversity. Ms. Betty, I would like you to mention some of the things, the biological diversity in our environment that you have noticed is lacking now, that writers should take note of. So as we close from this meeting and we go back to our writing tables, we take this subject and these issues back on the subject of biological diversity. Ms. Betty, please, you have the floor. Betty Abba. I think the internet is playing a trick. Is she on? Please speak up. Is she on?
Yeah, okay. I'm so sorry. My internet is a bit slow. I think I would just like to make a few comments at this point is the impact of COVID-19 on the planet. From reports and also what we can observe around us, you will see that the world is a bit rested now. And I feel that the planet is heaving a sigh of relief from the weight of human interference, the weight of human interruption, the weight of sheer oppression, like earlier. And I want to stop at this point to especially welcome my boss, Nimobasi, who is here today, whose leadership, whose personality, and whose work in the environment is a major influence in my life. It's good to have you here, sir. And thanks to everyone that's here today. So to continue, I read something from a major writer in India recently, and she said that the COVID-19 lockdown, the disaster, the tragedy of COVID-19 should, at the end of the day, leave us better human beings. It should leave the world better, and that when we are away from the lockdown, when the world rises again, that there should be a new world order, because we have become threats to the planet of biodiversity. With our industry, the extraction industry, with our environment. And of course, the big powers, big oil, big water, big tobacco, and all of that. The mindlessness, the sheer abuse of the planet. And I believe that each one of us will have that introspection. And as writers, people that are interested in the environment, are highlighting environmental injustices, that we should also be able to highlight this very fact that we should live, that we should emerge into a new world order, into a more friendly planet, people that are more friendly to the planet. And I talk all the time about my work in the Niger Delta, especially with regards to how women suffer higher levels of oppression with regards to the extractive industry, with regards to the double tragedy of patriarchy, how women are rendered voiceless, landless, invisible, and how they carry the weight of all the fallouts of the extractive industry and some of the things we've had over the years, where our environment, especially in the Niger Delta, has been deeply, deeply devastated. And I like to echo that voice from India again, Arundhati, so I've forgotten her name, that we should emerge into a world order, and that we should use our various platforms to caution the world that we can be better than this. We can relate better with our environment, and we can actually coexist in a friendly environment. I worked under NIMO, and organization happened to be Friends of the Earth. We are partners with Friends of the Earth International. So we should be more friendly with the earth, and that the earth can actually yield better for us if we are friendly, and if we have a consciousness that we should not oppress the.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, and we should operate on a more rightly disseminate this information of a more friendly order, of a more balanced world.
Thank you. Can everyone else? Thank you so much. I don't mean to cut you off, but I know that you're going to have to speak a lot more on this on the next panel. So please keep the gender issue down so that we'll serve it hot when we get to that panel. Thank you so much for the presentation on the first panel. I don't know if Mr. Nimo wants to give us a closing remark before we move on to our poet of honor, who is in the building now. Mr. Nimo Basi, do you want to give us a few closing remarks on that panel, sir? Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Do you want to give us your closing remarks on the panel? Otherwise, I don't know if he's here. Okay, you have 1 minute, sir.
Yes, 1 minute.
Full copy has been said by Betty, by Okoyodo, by Tija. So we're on the same page. But let me just close by saying what I learned from listening to Odi Ofemu at a lecture he gave on art and environment 1 year ago. He said the key point I took from the very long talk, very intricate, complicated talk that he gave was that our memory is fed by our senses, and that our imagination is developed by what our senses pick up. Our memory is fed by our senses, and our imagination is developed by what our senses pick up. We think about it for 1 year, and really, right now, I believe that the world is driven by the imaginary, and writers are custodians of the imagination of the world. Even the COVID-19 and the responses, where we had movies before, writings before that talked about this situation, and all that governments are doing, just playing out what has been outlined in fiction. And so we see, writers see into the future, we see the invisible. I wrote the poem on that, I see the invisible. So we should not be shy to lay out what we think is a preferred future that we want to go. Even economics is based on imagination. The stories about how people should relate, how we should exchange goods, what money is, all these are imaginations, and money itself is pure fiction. And so let's be bold to state the picture of the future we want to go there. Together we can, as activists and as writers, build the pathway to get to that future.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I think we have writers in the room, activists in the room, and all of our friends who are watching on Facebook and on other platforms. We've taken much away from that panel. There is a need to organize for the environment, no question about that. Writers and activists can come together. Writers can learn skills that they do not have as writers, just because they want to advocate, they want to see a better environment. And activists need to understand, like our boss, Sister Nimobasi, said, that the world is ruled by the imaginary. So let's make the most of it for the sake of the environment. We'll just dive into the presentation by our poet of honor now, Mr. Odia Ofeimu, who has been waiting. So Ofeimu, please, you have the floor now.
Imagine you can hear me.
I can hear you very well. I think we can all hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead, please.
Since I did not know how we started, I can take it midstream and hope that what I'm going to say will not go against the grain of what has already been said. I mean, I had Nimobasi talking about a lecture I had given some time ago. I actually gave that lecture, I think, on his birthday. And what I am going to do at the moment is, because I'm not very clear about how technology will respond to us in the next few minutes, I will start by reading a poem and then reading another poem that explains it.
We are very excited to have you read, sir.
The poem ought to be titled for Nimobasi, because what I'm going to say in this poem is a virtual letter I meant to write to him when mountains of tilapia began to appear along the coast of the Niger Delta a few weeks back. It is called Come over to Finima and help us. Come over to the alley and fissure where the Niger Delta pulses by the seashore, silent, insistent, sheer and resplendent in the silver of unseasonal tilapia, making mountains of insensate offer. Come over to Finima and help us across the dicing surprise of marine mortality, bringing to land the unwanted largesse. A dead whale larger than many houses on a stretcher beyond the usual bait of oil spillage sitting across the mangroves. Come, not for the usual drubbing of the land in splodges of black gold, acid effluence, currying mush, and overcoming every greenness with a letter smudge that invites contract hunters, all bidding to advert but swamping the earth with indifferent ruin baited by bunkerers. Come over to Finima and help us to appraise the novel withering of elements that goad prime visitation of dead whales to the shadows, as the novel prong of another season of pandemics, full of unacknowledged radiation, trashes the body heat of dystopias rooted to time travel. Come, not for the usual drubbing of the land, in 10-legged fattening of offshore patents, brash accounting of the oil merchants who have only love of wanton coupons, to mount in defense of the boggled earth, shorn of blue skies, running from the beast. Please, come over to Finima and help us. Defray the fear of the invisible virus, aided by busybodies such as for a lead to warfare trade, who would shut the world down for a whistle to resize the power they have fleeced, for life remade in search of enemies. I'm going to read an older poem which actually explains what I have just said. But this is about war. It was about the Gulf War and an explanation of the point that Nimo Bassey was referring to, how our sense experience supports the imaginary. It is called the mother of all mischief. It is about how journalists and writers actually use the experiences of
Sir, you are muted. Please, can you unmute your microphone, sir? You're muted. We haven't been hearing you for the past few seconds.
Can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself?
Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
You can hear me.
Yes, you're back.
Yes, we can.
What is okay? Fine. I don't know where I should start, but let me
start from journalists. I'm interested in that part, sir. What the journalists are doing. Wait.
And writers and journalists do something.
Yes.
Okay. That is to say, you had the whole poem. Come to Finima and help us.
Yes, we did, sir.
Yes, we did.
You had that one. Okay, so I can start with Mother of All Mischief.
Yes, you can.
The bars of Gliss and Gore were the first to arrive. Before aircraft carriers hummed through the cane sugar smack of the Caribbean, alive as rum, as common stragglers, scarring the throat of war, and all remembered wars. The sands, stoking the dunes, the quickest of age-like feuds and feuding ages, where nothing happened that will not happen again. In blank verse that visits the sins of offspring upon ancestors with scars to hide, and many return to make to the killing fields, where Homer, Iliadin, learned from Shakespeare how West traveled from the future to the past, to dread virgin acres of the uncomputed heart, as revealed by the bards of Ogun, St. Lucia, Dublin, and the latest door poets on Brixton street corners. They reeled from the buffets and farces of history, where nothing happened that will not happen again, in blank verse that saves innocence to forget creed and economics. What dictionary of civics civilizes with truth that spies philosophy, God and country, said the TV bad. We bring to you, good people at home, the latest symmetry of the narrating eye, holding truth hostage to ultimate wantonness. Shakespeare's spot, fit only for the gods, pleasantly spooling the living verbs to unshed what is next. And what's next, after what's next in the Arabian Nights. I am not supposed to make a speech. All I'm supposed to do is to read poems. I don't know how many I'm allowed to read. I have read 2. And I imagine that.
That's it. That's not enough, sir.
Is that laughter
I'll take that for now.
or with me?
We haven't had enough from you, but we will take the 2 for now so that you can listen to the people who are coming after you.
Thanks a million.
Thank you so much, sir.
I imagine that every poem I'm supposed to read here is not about coronavirus.
We are happy it's not. Corona is not in this room, even though we are acutely aware of its effects. I mean, we may know 1 or 2 persons who have been personally affected by it, even if we are not, in terms of losing a loved one. But in other ways, economically, socially, and otherwise, we've left Corona outside of this room, and we are happy that we have heard from you. Thank you so much, sir. Our distinguished poet of honor.
Thanks a million.
You'll still be in the room.
Thanks a million for letting this happen with the big man of the environment around.
It's our absolute honor to have you, sir. So while we move on now to the next aspect of this event, which is panel, we're supposed to have poetry readings from other persons, but I'll just collapse the 2 panels into one now. We will take about 25 minutes to talk about the 2 subjects in one session. And then, oh, okay, no, we can't actually do that. Mr. Finehas, are you here? Hello, co-host.
I'm listening, I'm here.
Okay, please call up some people, some 2 or 3 persons to do poetry readings for about 3 minutes before we move on to the next panel.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to especially appreciate Mr. Odia for his part. Let me thank you to Kaite George. Earlier this morning, let me send you the message of the DG for your fine takeoff during the network news. We have been told that this part of this program will be again on the network news for 10 p.m. today and 7 a.m. tomorrow.
Wow.
So the DG love the way you appeared this morning during that interactive. We want to say thank you. But Mr. Odia too, you wanted to talk about journalists. I was very interested in that aspect. Maybe you tell us that issue again with journalists and writers.
We have another forum for that.
It will be in our records. So let me call Ikwo Abasi.
She has done something.
Ikwo, are you there?
She has done something earlier. Please, let's take.
Let's listen to it.
She has done something earlier. It's Graciano.
Okay, I thought you said we are going for performances.
Yeah, she will do later on. She's done something before.
Guys, say.
It's Graciano.
I'm wondering whether that options to perform so I can perform later. Let's see the whole thing.
Okay, okay.
Let's take Graciano Finehas. Graciano, are you in the house?
I didn't hear from Fortune. It's Fortune there. It's Fortune George there.
I think that network is bad in many places because of the weather.
Yeah.
Is Graciano here? Have you spotlighted him? Gra, please, can you come on? We don't have so much time, so you give us your.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, I am.
Please mute the other person.
We used to sing dirges about dust and write elegies of our crocs that rust until we agreed to one man, one tree. Until trees told timid tales and poured poetry. But what say we to this? Like eating hens chase flies, we've chased the foreigners. Sit on their chairs to gulp our dinners. We are glad though they parked their shit when we told them to pack their shit. But what say we to this? We Google at the thread Jesus sent via WhatsApp. We shrug when by Muhammad's swords heads are zapped. We've seen Amadioha poison people and the callers being prayed for by the cripple. But what say we to this? that cremated coral stuffs our airways, that the manna that falls is darker than grays, when charcoal is the albino that laughs and puffs, whenever we spit ash after a painful cup. Our title whispers that we are sick. Who can interpret the language our lungs speak? Here everyone is educated, but no one is a knower. Here is like an ark in France, everything is Noah. We've chanted protest running until we look like racists. We've chanted protest until our placards look like a blacklist. How much pause is yet to be blackened? Should we bathe in suits to prove that we are black-skinned? Our mouths and preachers have gone mute, but we still see them jacketed in suits. What the burning hell should we say to this? Thank
you.
Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
We can see people clapping for you.
Thank you, Graciano.
Thank you very much.
you.
Thank you.
So please, can everyone mute their microphones now? The next person on, Fortune George, you can just go on immediately so that others can do their piece.
Okay. Good day, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you very well. Just dive into your presentation. Thank you.
Okay, this poem is untitled, but it talks about oil spillage in River State precisely. Danger. This is a hazardous area. Warning. High pressure pipeline ahead. Caution. Petroleum pipeline, do not trespass. We have kept these instructions, yet doom befalls us, one for which you have put no warning sign. Our cups overflow of crude, and black is the color of our streams. An irony that the inhabitants of the river basin die of thirst, for our wells are corrupted. Your pipes penetrated our lands and pumped oil onto our rivers. You have stolen the blue from our waters, sapped the nutrients from our farms. You have blackened the liquid from heaven. The effect of you and yours is like litmus paper reacting to acid. The other day, I saw Isila, Atabala, and Songu float like Nibarino Skeno, dead from the deadness you give. The plants protest this cruelty of crude, overpowered. Its leaves bow to the ground in surrender, dead from the deadness you give. How can we survive this plague that you have brought upon us? We are done for. We are ruined. Our lands ruined, our waters ruined, our people ruined, our livelihood put on hold by your very own destruction. We protest, and maybe if there's a round table, we can survive. Thank you very much. That's about all.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fortune. Indeed, we are done for. Thank you very much. So who is next? Do we have Uzo
Wamara?
Uzo is Uzo here. Uzo here. Uzo, please, if you are with us, please go ahead. Okay, please, can you unmute yourself? Can you unmute yourself?
Hello.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Thank you for having us.
Go ahead.
World Environmental Day. It's a great day to save the world. We all know that Port Harcourt, River State has been under the attack of black soot for some months now. And let me do a poem entitled Black Soot. In our land, sun doesn't be done. In our land, our days where monk and break at noon. In our land, where people smile In our land, crocodiles also cry. In our land, where python dance, in our land, pythons also die. In their conclave, and the bastards, in their conclave, they all concord, burn the bastards. The armored cars crowded our land. They are fighting free beats, found our waters. The alpha jets jammed our air. Let the music play. Now the music plays. Now they do the dance. Now they sing and smile. In war, mercy is first casualty. They burn the land, they burn the water, they burn the air. They burn the land, we ran to water. They burn the water, we ran to air. They burn the air, where do we run? Man, flora, fauna, all are guilty as a child. In their rage, they offer spoons of black soot, covering us in cheap shit. Our eyes burn, our nostrils burn, our clothes burn, our lungs burn, our skins burn, our life a blanket of blackness. Then we say, are silent, since they're not on our side. They have their heads, they close their eyes, they mask their faces. They are not of our world. We exist on earth, but we live in hell. Tell them, tell the idiots, you cut not your nose to spite your face. Tell them, tell the goats, rain falls on one roof and shun the other. Tell them, tell the railway cars, the floor the sick will sweep us all the way. Tell them, tell the inhabitants of death, this death in the air is also in their noses. Thank you.
Thank you. So can we give a round of applause? We can just clap on our screens. Thank you so much. Mr. Finahas, are you still in the house? Oh.
I'm here.
Okay, are you here? I think the next person on that set, and will be the last for now until we are done with the next panel, is Ikechukwu Egbuta. I said Ikechukwu Egbuta here. He registered to attend this event, and he said he wanted to perform his poem as well. Is Ikechukwu here? Ikechukwu, are you in the room, please? Okay, if he's not here, then we'll move on to Kani Rogers. Kani Rogers, are you here? Is Kani Rogers here? Right, so we want to move over now to the second panel, which has the subject, communication for change, the place for writers. Just as someone who is curious about knowledge, I have been introduced to the subject of development communication or communication for change. And I thought it would be an interesting subject to talk about with writers in terms of, as writers, how can we employ the communication that is intended to drive change, social change in our writing, because whatever we write, okay, so whatever it is that we write, sorry for that interruption. Whatever it is we write, we are communicating to the public, and we want to drive social change by knowing how to apply some of these tools for development communication as writers and as activists. So to discuss this, we have Mr. Diego Okenyodo Anote Ajeloru of The Guardian. Is he in the room, please? And Betty Abba, Dr. Wale Okediron. Wale Okediron in the room. Do we have Dr. Wale Okediron with us here? Before we move forward, I just want to recognize the presence of some eminent persons who joined. My screen here can see about 25 at a time, but I think that I saw Mr. Danger Abdullahi. Mr. Danger Abdullahi entered this meeting room. You're welcome, sir. We are happy to have you in the room. The former president of Association of Nigerian Authors, Mr. Danger Abdullahi. Obarigomba also came into the meeting room. I don't know if he's still here. So we have Mr. Okenyodo, Mr. Anote, Ms. Betty Abba, Wale Okediron, Mr. Memokon as well is in the room. Ms. Okon, are you here? Can we all step up and talk about the place of writers in communicating change? And in this case, we are going to be focusing on positive change for the sake of our environment, for the sake of our planet, for the sake of biological diversity. I want to call on Mr. Okenyodo to give us opening remarks on this. Mr. Okenyodo, sir. Are you seeing them? Is Betty Abba here? Mr. Anote, are you hearing me, please? If you are, then please, can you give us what your thoughts are on the subject of discussion? Thank you, sir.
I can hear you.
I think you should give us your thoughts on this subject, please. Are you able to hear him? Is anyone hearing him?
No, okay.
We can't hear him.
We can't hear you. Miss Betty Abba, please, can you speak on the place of writers in communicating change? As an activist, someone who's been working in the field for so many years, advocating for change on so many fronts, what do you think the place of writers is in terms of communicating justice for the environment? Can you hear him? Can you hear him?
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Hello?
Go ahead, please.
You can hear me, okay. All right, thank you so much. And I think you are putting me on the spot too much.
Yes,
today.
you can hear you, go ahead.
Please go ahead. Some people's internet is problematic.
Okay. So I think that as a writer who is also into activism, that you stand on a double pedestal and you have an extra advantage of communicating your thoughts, your campaigns, the essence of your advocacy to the larger society. I will give an instance again by invoking my boss, Nimo Basi, who incidentally is here. I got to know about the Niger Delta issues as an undergraduate by reading Nimo's opinion articles in the Guardian newspaper. That was what really opened my eyes to the issues of the Niger Delta, and of course the several press releases by the Environmental Rights Action. And then later I was also opportune to work directly under Nimo at ERA. I think that the pen or her computer, so to say now, are very later tools in communicating change. And most people, I think people are just they have at hand, and are working in, for instance, working in informal communities. I've come to learn that people are just products of the environment, and the information they have is always very rare to see someone growing in the informal community not to have some form of the slum life, because that is the environment you are born into. The daily communication you get, the happenings around you shape you in a very strong way until they have some external positive influences that say, no, there's actually a larger life outside there. Life does not stop at this base. And so with communication, if we're able to communicate using our talents and the information we've garnered over the years, inputting this information to the public in the right way, in the right format, through the right platform, that people can be mobilized, people can be sensitized, and then they adapt to change. So it's a very major tool. And talking again about the current work I do in Lagos, the Lagos state government has over the years had this very strong machinery of, they've built this strong machinery of propaganda to make the slum communities to look very does not imply that that person is a criminal. The fact that that person is actually poor, if you look critically, is a fallout of the failures of government. And so government has a right to improve on their livelihoods, to improve on their living conditions, on the facilities in which they live. That is the responsibility of government. After all, this government goes there every 4 years to get their votes. The government takes consistency allowances and all of that from the government, from the federal government, and so they have a right to cater for these people. These people have a right to the city. So somehow it's beginning to seep into a large portion of the populace, and so that's how change happens when you bring people to look at things at a closer range. That don't just take things at the surface level. Don't just say people in the Niger Delta, all the youth are criminals, the militants are criminals. What has criminalized them? They've been criminalized to a large extent. If there's any part of Nigeria that should be developed now, it should be the Niger Delta. There is the other way around. Why is this so? And so this are part of the reasons that these people are being militarized. They're asking for resource control, for economic justice and all of that. And so people really need to be sat down, to be talked to in ways they understand, in languages they understand, and in the various platforms that we have. And
thank you so much. I just have to stop you here now.
Social media and all of that, our writings, our poetry, and we have a duty, responsibility to. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So can we just have thoughts from Mr. Okenyodo and Mr. Anote before we move on to the next panel?
Thank you. I already stopped.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Okenyodo, please. We are listening to you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I lost the track for a while, but I'm back. Yeah. You know, the points that have been made, I just want to buttress the fact that the social norms that govern how we destroy the environment also is something that we as people who want to create change, we need to deal with. What are those norms, those violence that we have imbibed, you know, as the people, how we deal with the youth, how we deal with those who are less privileged, as Betty has said. What are those things we have imbibed over the years? And how do we, when we put on the toga of activists as writers, how do we understand those issues that are core in terms of the problem before we start writing and before we start working as activists? In my office yesterday, I was doing one of the things we call the problem tree analysis. Yes, as a writer, that will be far-fetched. I don't need to go really into analyzing every problem with a problem tree analysis before I begin to write. However, when I want to become an activist, I need to do that. I owe the society a responsibility to understand the root causes of the problems, or else I'll be writing as a part of the problem instead of part of the solution. And it's ignorance of the problem really sometimes makes us become part of the problem, even though we think we're writing from the perspectives of the people. Writing is mostly a solitary work, assignment. And if we, going back to the concept of Ubuntu and all of that, it does not mean sitting down just in your room alone or sitting down in your library. We really need more connection with the people, an honest connection that says we don't even know the answers. And I'm not talking now just as a writer, I'm talking now, but when we decide as writers to become activists, deeper connection with the people to understand why they do what they do, the social norms that drive the problem, and how we're going to now use our capacity as influencers, as writers who have the capacity to speak through our writings and our spoken word and our stuff. We need that connection to happen, and we need to understand that problem. So every time I talk with colleagues who are writers and who want to say we are speaking on behalf of the people, I say, which people are you speaking on behalf of? What you understand is the real problem you're dealing with. So you might see a people and you think they are victims, but they might not be victims. They might actually be people who understand the answers to their problems. And again, I go back to the environmental degradation in the north. Not even desertification. Go to the tin mines, the former tin mines in Jos, and how the environment is dilapidated. Go to Zamfara, where lead and gold and all of that is being mined. Even part of what is known today as kidnapping is linked to this problem. But if you don't understand it, then you keep thinking it's a religious issue because somebody sat somewhere and is using religion on the surface to canvas. And when you think you are writing to deal with the problem, you are actually not doing so, because you are actually part of the problem because of your poor understanding.
Thank you so much. So I've taken away that you think that writers should learn more about the issues of the environment. I mean, we are talking about environment and biological diversity here. So you are saying that, if I understand you, we should do more in learning about the development issues around us, so that when we are writing, whether we are writing them as stories or poems or whatever, we come from a place of deep understanding of the issues. And I mean, when we are talking about the environment, there's just no two ways about it. We have to understand these issues well enough to be able to write what will drive change. Mr. Anote, are you back in the room now? Can you give us something on this subject as a journalist who works in the field and also as a writer? How do you think that writers can drive change in terms of environmental justice?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you. Please speak up. Put your video on if you can. Otherwise, you can just speak on.
Okay.
You have just about a minute to go now.
Yeah, I'll speak on. The video is giving some challenges. Okay, the communicating for change, either as a writer or as a journalist, these are very key. But the thing is that we live in a society where the level of education, the level of literacy is somewhat low, even amongst those who lead.
Can we have our microphones off, please?
Am I on? Okay. So now in the area of it's on. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, fine. So the level of literacy in the country is quite low. And so writers and journalists, we always do their best to write about the environment, about issues of degradation, about whether in the Niger Delta or in the north, like Diego just mentioned, in Zaria and other places. But you see, until we're able to reach those who make decisions properly, in terms of those who govern, it's still going to be difficult. And that's exactly what we're having. Why perhaps the campaigns that iconic personalities like Nimo Bassi have been making. I mean, I met him back in the university as well, when he was in Benin. You see, so how do we match communication with policy? At what point does that nexus come into play between those who write and those who make decisions, and how much of writers are actually angling to be part of that decision-making process, so that when those who write, then those who make decisions get to take these things up, whether in parliament, whether at the state level, at the federal level, and begin to legislate on them. So it's going to be very difficult if that connection is not there between the writers and those who make decisions. And so that's why some persons, like me, would like to argue and push that, look, like our own Dr. Wale Okediran, we should try as much as possible to be part of the political process as well, beyond the writing. Though the writing is great, because that's where you come from a point of information about what is going on in the environment, in society. But those who take decisions further to a point of making them into implementable policies, the writers are lacking, are lacking entirely, or they are too few to make any meaningful change, or the policies that will bring about those changes that writers write about or journalists write about. So,
thank you so much, sir. I think we've gotten quite some nuggets from your submission there. At the end of the event, I'm sure, Dr. Barigomba, I hope that you're putting things down for our call to action at the end. I just want us to move to the next panel, but before we do that, let us have some servings of poetry from Adamu Usman. Is he back now? Adamu Usman is a student who lives in Gombe, and he writes about the environment. I cannot see him is he here? Adamu, are you ready for us? Please take the floor for about a minute or so. Please unmute him, he's muted. Please unmute yourself.
He's on, he's on.
Unmute yourself. We don't have so much time left.
He's on, please.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear. Go ahead.
Good afternoon to everyone. It is really a pleasure to be among highly seasoned personalities and prominent men of letters. So the title, Okay, the title of my poem is No Place Like Home, and it goes, no place like home. Girls, our bones were fashioned in milk hardness, and hence the need to outgrow the infantile stage of lullaby, out of the stage where our tongues were twisted into a deeply buried language of silence. There is no place like home, where these bodies now smelling of non-cities, these bodies of ours now grown to smitten suns, trucks, and crazy droplet of rain, were once hidden stories wearing the coverlet of home for their nakedness, where our mothers, because they carried hopes as flight of wings, threw us up and down onto their blazed palms with music that knew the glowing face of greatness. Because battered were the wings of their dark days, battered when we were just out to breathe fire into the embers of the future, but still like a stranger carrying prayer in his scary mouth, they prayed and hoped we were gifted with the rhythms of doves and carriers to win into night and bring forth daylight. There is no place like home, where when our voices started to pulsate out boldness and lion-like hues of growth, our mothers emitted choruses, urging us to go and dare the world. There are cities where tomorrow is wrapped every day as the sun rises from the rucksack of slumber. There is no place like home. We are here grown with colors and shades of strength, with a tablet of promises, ready to heal the wounds of our mothers. We are here to shrug these sorry wounds, till new flashes of pure scent of innovation and progress emerge from these swollen eyes of ours. Till the rain comes, that rain of bliss and merriment. Till the rain that will sweep away the demon choking us comes. Till the rain comes as red hot thunder to break the chains that have long held us back from rolling the wheel of our dear nation out of the ugly slices of disappointment and failures. Till we come as rain and chart away for a comely and novel beginning of a better nation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adamu. Please, can we give another round of applause for Adamu? Yes, and this is why the poetry, I enjoyed it as a host. I think I'm a little bit. I'll listen to it again and enjoy it more. But it's been a whole thing for Adamu to be able to connect with us. We've had issues with the internet and all that, but he has been very determined from the beginning to join us on this program. And I want to say deep appreciation to him. He's a student in Gombe. He writes for the environment, and he's even more excited about writing for the environment than I think I am. Thank you so much. So please, there are other persons who are lined up to read poetry, but we can't go into that until we are done with the next panel, which we have to trim the time to about 10 minutes now. Miss Ememokon is in the house. Tija Bolton is in the house. I noticed Dr. Obarigomba, is he still around? So let's have a conversation about ideas of justice, energy, environment, gender, and sundry issues. This panel is going to be introduced by Chiti Ogumbada, our energy justice researcher and expert in the house. Mr. Chiti.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I'll just go straight to the point since we don't have much time. There has been a lot of interesting conversation in respect to the environment, in respect to energy, and how it is deleterious to life here in the Niger Delta and elsewhere where oil production occurs. Now, to set this conversation rolling, I just wanted to highlight one aspect of this whole discussion, and that is the nature of justice. Justice is an inherently complex concept to define, and that is where the challenge lies, for, not just for activists, but also every other person working on that field. Now, what does that mean for activism? It simply means that if we're to engage with the topic or with the concept of justice, then we need to take a prior step. And what is that prior step? We need to first engage deeply with the theoretical and the conceptual underpinnings of justice. Now, why is that important? That is important because what is justice differs from perspective. What might be just in one situation might be unjust in a different context. So it is very necessary for activists, writers, and practitioners to be able to streamline what idea of justice they want to work on, and then see how to link that with environmental activism and so on. Now, it was a bit interesting what Nimo Basi talked about. In the beginning of this whole conversation, I was very happy about it. The whole concept of Ubuntu or Eti Owen. I hope I got that correctly. Now, that is a conception of justice which is very, very significant because it looks at relationality, the whole essence of human beings being connected with other human beings, our humanity being bound up with others, and so on. But then guess what? That is just one conception of justice, as it were. There are many other conceptions out here. I mean, we've got ideas of justice from theorists like John Rawls, from Amartya Sen, bringing up different ideas and so on. But what Nimo Basi's suggestion does is that it recognizes the fact that, okay, as a writer, this is the idea of justice I want to bring to the table. And you know what that does? That helps with securing acceptability of ideas. I mean, communication, as we have discussed, is very important. We need to be able to communicate our ideas, but we'll be unable to achieve optimum communication if we're not clear about what justice means. So the takeaway is that activists should be able to engage deeply with that idea of justice. Engaging with it means clarifying what it means what it means to them, and how they want to be able to advance their arguments.
Yeah, thank you, Chiti. Thank you. Sorry for cutting you. I don't mean to. Perhaps you'll give a few closing remarks later on. The idea, the concept is ATUM. Again, this event is ATUM. Yeah, that's the concept.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes, I just had to do that. ABBO is very important in this event right now.
As a matter of fact, I plan to use.
I don't mean to sideline other languages, but that is the concept that we've been exploring from the beginning. Thank you. So, Mr. Memokon is in the room talking about justice, environment, and gender. This is your tough. You've been working as an activist for gender and environment for the past 20 years. What can you bring from the field that will benefit writers who are listening to this in this room and elsewhere on the internet? What have you found in the course of your work that we can take away and use it to better our writings on the environment? Mr. Kohn, please.
Thank you, Ekaite. And I also have to appreciate everybody that has shared in this forum. Because of time, I will just talk briefly on what we have done today, and then I will share a poem, because I promised the author that I have to read this poem today. It's not a long poem, you will enjoy it. I'm actually coming in from Gokana, where I had to join women in Ogoni, Bobia Fefelo, in a tree planting exercise to promote, to mark today's World Environment Day, and also as a contribution of Ogoni women to the remediation exercise that is going on in Ogoni. Kebedkase work with community women's group. We mobilize women to actually campaign for environmental justice in the Niger Delta. I know possibly it must have been mentioned when this program started that women bear the brunt of the environmental degradation. What we do is to mobilize women and tell them or encourage them that it is not enough to continue to see ourselves as victims, but we can actually see ourselves as change agents and also do what we could to contribute to the achievement of environmental justice and also gender equality. We carry out a lot of programs, but I'll focus on the fact that Kebedkase has been able to initiate a Niger Delta Women's Day of Action for Environmental Justice. We started it in 2016. We adopted December 17 as a day where women in oil polluted areas in the Niger Delta can speak up, take action in their little space to ensure that they make visible their initiative and also project their voices to issues of environmental justice campaign. Today, it was not only Gobia Fefelo that we supported. We actually assisted Gobia Fefelo to be able to access a grant from Global Greens Grant Fund. So it was part of that project that they implemented today, but we also supported women in 6 other communities. We were in a girls' school in Port Harcourt City here. We supported women in Okuzi community, women in Abua, women in Eleme. There were some other women in Kurukuru, and also women in Erema.
Mr. Kohn, before you finish the reel out of women you're supporting, how are you supporting women writers? Because we are here and we want to know how, I mean, in terms of the subject, the idea of justice and what you're doing in the field, which is very remarkable and commendable.
Ekaite, the first time you came to me, Ekaite, the first time you came to me with a collection of your poems.
Not me, ma. I'm not talking about myself.
Yes, let me say it. Let me say it. It's also part of it because we don't have much time. At least we were able to buy your books and give it to some other women as an encouragement that they have to begin to write about the environment and document about what they do in their community. We also gave you a platform 17 when we marked the Niger Delta Women's Day of Action for Environmental Justice 2018. And you were there in that crowd of over 300 women and you read your poem. It was beautiful, it was impactful, and it was an inspiration to those women who were there. And we can do more. We can talk about it.
This is the part where I want to give. So women writers in the room, write more. Kebet Kasha is ready to make you, to amplify your voices in the space of faith. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So before you stop me, please, I promise a 18-year-old young woman who is right now in Mexico that I'm going to read her poem today on the biodiversity. She wrote this poem specifically for today World Environment Day.
Okay.
Her name is Azalia.
Please be on standby for your own minutes before we go out.
Her name is Azalia Cristina Gonzalez, and the title of her poem is Dear Biodiversity. Millions of enchanting species travel your soul. Your sons and daughters live in beauty within you. You are surrounded by deep waters of many colors. You are immense and unreachable. Dear biodiversity, you are beautiful and perfect in all your dimensions. Your destruction will mean the last beat of every heart. No, we cannot allow, not even imagine, your destruction. We must act, struggle to defend you, protect you, and respect you. To love you, dear biodiversity, is to turn our hearts over to you and commit ourselves to defending your life with our own. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I just read, thank you, Ms. Emem. We are always happy to have you around. I just read a comment from Betty Abad that said, we must encourage women who write from gender-specific perspectives about the environment. I hope you guys will understand if I stay a little bit more on this subject for about a minute. It's very important that women writers take on the issue of the environment. I mean, I've worked with Kebet Kasha, and she has told me that Kebet Kasha is willing and able to work with writers who are going to highlight the issues of the environment. And the challenge, though, is that I find that many women writers, okay, let me rephrase this. The challenge is that there are not so many women writers who are focused on issues of the environment. One of the reasons one of the things that I want us to take away from this forum is, if we do know women writers who are writing about the environment, please, I would like to have their contacts. I would like us to come together as sisters, and I would like us to, as one of the also products of this conference or this meeting, we will put up an anthology of writings from writings on the environment, and a section of it will be on the issue of gender, which will specifically welcome perspective and ideas on how the environment impacts gender. So please, if you're aware of any woman who is interested in the subject or who is writing already or who wants to write and we need to amplify these voices more than we have done already. Mr. Teacher Bolton, do you want to say anything? Otherwise, we'll move over to poetry readings.
I will call him back.
Mr. Teacher Bolton.
Go and check the weather.
Yes, I'm here.
Can everyone
and I want
mute their microphones?
Yes, am I being heard?
You have a minute, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. So I just wanted to chip in there that women, especially in the Niger Delta, are at the receiving end of environmental injustice, and everywhere else, they hold the shorter end of the stick as far as environmental injustice is concerned. So on a day like this, it's important, and I was highly elated to notice that there's a gender perspective to today's conversation. Having said that, there is a certain role that women play as custodians of environmental resources. They are the fetchers of the water, they are the fetchers of wood, they are the producers of and the fetchers of food, and so on. And because of this intersection between the role of women and girls and the environment generally, they appear sometimes to be those who are actually decimating environmental resources. So it is important as writers to be able to clearly see this role that women play, and to understand that women are not on the front lines of environmental or eco-aggression, not because they want to, but because they are left with no other option but to, exhaust these resources. And then also the telling impact that this is having on their capacity to cope, with some of the social challenges that we are having
Thank you
right
so
now.
much, sir. I'll have to
Yes.
stop you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Tija. Mr. Chizi Obumbada, are you here, sir? Chizi, is he giving signals? Okay,
yes,
Chizi,
I'm here.
Yeah, can you do a 30 seconds wrap up of the ideas of justice around the environment as we talk about it today? 30 seconds, sir.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it's been amazing. The presentations have been quite on point, but the take-home message will be that if we are to engage with ideas of justice, whether it has to do with gender matters or any other perspective, we need to clarify the focus, what it means to us, what does justice mean to us, and then through that way, we'll be able to communicate the ideas of justice we have, not just to policymakers, but also to every other person who has the opportunity to do justice in actual fact.
And I might just add there, may justice be done to our environment. Amen.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to the next set of poets who will be thrilling us now. Shutdown for this event is supposed to be 2, but if we enjoy this poetry presentation longer than that for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I hope that we will still be able to stay on. Obarigomba, is he in the room, sir? I don't know if Finehas is here. So Obarigomba here. What about Afyong Ebekpo? Is Afyong Ebekpo here? Afyong Ebekpo, are you here? Judith Rapu. Judith Rapu wanted to present something to us. Judith, is Judith here? Funke Awodia. Funke, are you here? Funke is not here. Can we have the poem by Anote Ajeluoru now? Anote, Mr. Anote, are you here? I'm sorry, I can't see my screen. Can I see?
I'm here.
Please go ahead with the reading of your poem.
Okay, this poem is, well, was inspired by this coronavirus, but it's also talking about the environment, how after this period, what becomes of us. And it's titled One Day. One day, when all this is over, when face masks return to medics and social mingling is norm again, when we return handshakes in one fellowship, that day we shall sit down on the shore of Ase Creek and let our blistered feet lap up soothing water and watch the birds glide past in clear blue sky and marvel at the silvery fishes in the aquarium wonder. One day, when all this is over, we shall sit again under the mango tree, pregnant with fruits, and retell our horror tale, how an invisible enemy waged war on us, how a scopic army laid us to waste and ruined livelihoods, how we scurried indoors, cowering, peeping fearfully from trenches of our homes, how without a quarrel we went to war with no gun, with no bombs, with no spears, with no bows and arrows, with no spies, only hand washing, staying home, social distancing as war room strategy. A quiet war we fought with a ubiquitous foe. The silent politics that hushed the atom, that laid low and could soar away to something safe. And we counted the numbers dead, like hunters.
Are you still hearing him?
As much not be killed, piling high in mass graves, from Europe to America, from Asia to Africa, and beyond. And after a long time, caged in lockdowns, we emerged broken, but somewhat victorious in such a cyclic war that crept upon us from one corner of our village world. A virulent war that sapped the human race and put science to shame and put medicine to sham for just once. From Spanish flu to coronavirus pandemic, a plague made war on us, and we bear the scar that lasts a lifetime, deeply branded in our hearts, and we say, never again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't know, we would have responded to some of these, but there's no time. So move on to the next person now. It's Phineas in the house. Dr. Barigomba, can you do your presentation to us now, please?
Okay.
Sorry, Dr. Gomba. Sorry, I have to interrupt you for a second. Mr. Denja Abdullahi came into the room after I tried to introduce him before. I just want to say welcome, sir, and I hope that you have something to read for us, because after Dr. Gomba, we would like to hear you read for us. You can go ahead, Dr. Gomba, sir. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read a poem called Is it clear?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay.
Can hear you. Go ahead.
The right to own. Every blade of grass, every inch of the mangrove forest, we own this place. Every place of cloud, every drop of water, we own this place. The sun and the moon and the stars. Land to sky, sky to ocean floor. We own this place. The wind that blows, the air we breathe. We own this place. Everything that crawls, everything that walks, everything that runs, everything that swims, everything that flies. We own this place. Every life that breathes, every life that grows, every life that dies. We own this place, and we must defend it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Denja Abdullahi, Mr. Denja Abdullahi, do you want to read a poem for us?
Well, I have no poem to read.
Okay, do you want to say something to us about the environment and what we are doing here?
Well, you are doing wonderfully well. I've been listening to all the contributions. You know, I've done too much talking over the years, too much of literary advocacy, even in the aspect of the environment. You know, I know we've done a lot about the environment, trying to make writers to be conscious of the environment and tooling them in such a way that they can write about the environment and do very good advocacy with their writing. Well, I would just say that, well, the Niger Delta region of Nigeria has shown us a lot how writers can use their art to advocate for change in the aspect of the environment. And I keep saying it, other parts of the countries are yet to learn from the way writers from the Niger Delta have been able to talk about the environment with their writing. The northern part of Nigeria have a lot of environmental problems which they've not translated into writing and stories. The middle belt and some other parts of the country. A lot of stories, a lot of plays, a lot of poems are still yet to be written.
Yes, I agree with you, sir. So much more to be written.
Particularly in the other parts of the country away from Nigeria. Yes. I think that's just what I would say. Yes. I've learned a lot listening to many of you, and I think you can.
Thank you, sir. So much more poems, so much more stories to be written from all parts of Nigeria. The World Environment Day Dialogue and PoetryFest is an annual event that we are convening every year from now on. And after this, we'll put up regularly anthologies of writings on the environment. So let us come together as writers and activists for the sake of our environment. We still have to go ahead with readings now. There were so many people on this list. Funke Awodia is not here. Herbert Pepple, are you in the room, Herbert? Herbert Pepple. Okay, Herbert is not in the room. Betty Abba, can you read your piece? After that, Graciano, please be on standby. Kwadiana Basi, the two of you will read at the end. Loretta Loretta, are you in the room? If Loretta is here, she will read after Betty Abba. Betty, please.
Okay. I have a poem, so I'm going to, because of our time, I'm going to cut it into two.
Please, just dive straight.
It's titled
go straight to the poem.
Okay. The earth bleeds in furious fits. Her fans are flat and feeble. Her sanctuaries are soiled. The earth bleeds in furious fits. Her fanciful face is flab and flaky. Hurt by horrendous human hands, the earth bleeds in furious fits. Her sons are dead and belly up, afloat in poisoned ponds. The earth bleeds in furious fits. See her foaming in serious seizures. See her jerking is no Jackson's jigs. She's down at the rapist's ramps. The earth bleeds in furious fits. She's heaving as breathless beasts, deprived of all her dignity, doomed, ditched, desecrated. The earth bleeds in furious fits. Her belly bruised and burnt by mankind's menacing merchants, whose only God is glistening gold, who leaves tears in their trail, yet will not think a thought that in those trails are thoughts whose dreams are dimmed and darkened by impatient pounding profiteers, burrowing earth's burning bellies. The earth is bleeding sore, hot, you hounding horns. Can't you see the sky is falling over your heady heads? Can't you see the ground is giving under your looting, loathsome legs? Do you think we did not see? Do you think we did not know? When we children of the earth, we model children of the earth, when you burn soil and shade, we are coming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Betty. The earth is bleeding. I think that apart from the fact that I was thinking about the environment, I was also thinking about the many women and girls, especially the young girls who have had to lose their lives in very tragic circumstances, much as the earth has been raped and violated. We have seen that happen to some women and girls in Nigeria. And I just want to use this second or this minute now to say that justice should be done to these women, and justice should be done to the environment as well. Let us stop all the rape, whether it be rape of women and girls or it be rape of the environment. I think we can all agree that violation of anything at all is just a destruction that does nobody any good. Thank you very much. So Loretta, is Loretta here? Am I muted? Is Loretta in the room? No. Herbert Pepple. Ikwadiana Basi, please take on your next performance.
Maria Camille Keto, Muleti Tenaro. Maria Camille Keto, Muleti Tenaro. Maria Camille Keto, Muleti Tenaro. Maria Camille Keto, Muleti Tenaro.
What do you want to dance? Should we get up and dance?
No, I'm dancing already.
I think we should all get up and dance. This is please go ahead.
We did not inherit her, only her contents, to till for sustenance, to build on and multiply, to sink roots, teach culture for posterity. We did not inherit her, only her bounty. We borrowed the land, And we rejoiced when she gave us oil, enough for consumption and sale. Oil for our soups, oil for our skins, and even tinder for our hurts. Immense, the blessings of the giant trees. Then came strangers with talk of oil beneath our feet. The proof was clear, though this oil was murky. The proof was dark. This was no red oil. Mother Earth, pregnant enough even for strangers, so we thought they too would borrow her. But these guests treat her like they own her. They till her mercilessly with no care for rest. They watered her not. Gradually, her smiles began to vanish. They made her wail. The land wailed. She wept into the rivers. She bled into our fishes. These strangers shared our land while we watched, and our crops slowly withered. They made her wail. They bled her, and black gold came pouring, filling their pockets while we watched, hungry, naked, sick. They promised us oil, but they took blood instead. We borrowed the land for our children, but these strangers slaughter her like a cow, then desert her for the next. Ask for Loibiri, ask for Boni, ask Ikarama, ask for Bunaha, ask Hangyama. Desolate, hopeless after the plunder. We did not inherit this land. We borrowed her for our children. Yet, I fear that in place of land, we leave blood, hunger, tears, pathetic inheritances for our children. This is not the land we borrowed for our children. Tomorrow demands land of us. What tales shall we spin? But we did not inherit this land from our ancestors. We borrowed her for our children. What tales shall we spin? Tomorrow demands the land of us.
Wow, as they say. I'm sure that everyone else is as thrilled as I am about it. You know, when we call it Mother Earth, this is what we mean. We did not inherit this land, isn't it, Ikwa?
We did not inherit it. So this poem, I wrote it after I heard an Ijaw proverb, which says, we did not inherit the land, we borrowed it for our children. And so I'm amazed that, you know, in the Niger Delta, we have such deep proverbs. They mean so much. So it made me wonder, what are we then leaving for our children after all these years of rape and, you know, of the land? What are we leaving for our children?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, talking about the rape, again, it's on our lips. The rape is immense on the environment, and you couldn't have put it better. As mothers, we are particularly concerned. Is this the planet we want to leave for our children? Will they be able to breathe? I mean, now we have to cover our noses and our mouths to walk on the streets. Will our children be able to even step out of their houses by the time we are done with the plundering that is ongoing? These are questions we need to ask ourselves and answer. And beyond just asking them, we have to write about them. We have to come together with the activists and the writers, come in one room like this from time to time and drive change by speaking, by writing, by performing, just as our sister has done now. Graciano is on the line. Who are the other persons? Finehas, please. I think that we've even gone beyond time, but we will take a few. Finehas, Graciano, please, can you give us something?
Yeah. I will take Graciano.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, greetings to Mr. Audio Fimun and all of the people here. I want to do the second piece titled sit and cheer. It's my response to those who said the Ruga exercise to the Niger Delta will bring about economic advancement. So here's me replying like I'm a Fulani herdsman. It goes thus. I like the way you sit and cheer. It urges me to do more, so daring. I hear the sound of simmering tears. It sounds like a noise of a crowd cheering. You sit so calmly, like a kettle on burning coals. You sit like an electrocuted girlie on her lover's pole. Yes, you sit and cheer, you sit and cheer. You sit on a chair and you sit and cheer. My blood is whiskey, but because it bears the opportunity, just sit and cheer. In Benway, I smeared blood and bread like Barmer. In my previous lives, I died a suicide bomber. I flushed enemies in one scene. Yes, you can call me Samson. The skin of the lion I killed decorates your throne, but the bones are my own. Yes, the bones remain my own, yet you sit and cheer. I would hang on the hairs on the inside of the bottom. I'd walk my way into the most delicate part of a scrotum. I'd bite so hard until you know that Biafra was less than a bite. I'd bite so hard until your fears will leave your anguish in fright. I'd creep into and corrupt your racket. Teach your teens to say to peace, I no get your nugget. I lodge myself amid your market people. Beautiful gating like the cripple. I'd make shredded limbs and expose bowels of I wouldn't leave until the light comes to leave the book of dirges. Oh yes, you read as it emerges. Every 4 years, I'll tickle my gears. I'd march my lorries into the stems of the schools. I'd pluck your babies unripe and disappear into the woods. Despite your hashtag screaming, bring back our girls. It's in my forest they will learn to citadel. It's in my forest they will learn to citadel. It's in my forest they will learn to citadel. I'd make the ambitions run away from runways. I won't reappear until I'm done planting chicken bombs in their wombs. I won't reappear until their bombs are chicken bombs in their wombs. Chicken bombs and replace my happy fingers, make you dirt singers, LED ringers. As for the dance, you all must dance. History must have divorced your memory. Return from Canterbury. The last time I released the mixtape, Okroso spinned on all landscape. Sitting bombs dance too. So sit and cheer. You'll soon dance with the bond of the redundant sit and cheer until my bombs come for your bombs. Sit and cheer until my bombs come for your bombs. But I like the way you sit and cheer. It urges me to do more, so daring. I hear the sound of simmering tears. It sounds like a noise of a crowd cheering. You sit so calmly, like a kettle on burning coals. You sit like an electrocuted barely on a lover's pole. Yes, you sit and cheer, you sit and cheer. You sit on the chair and you sit and cheer. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Graciano.
Yes.
We will not sit and cheer on the environment. Thank you so much. Will you give a round of applause to Graciano? As always, you are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are a few people who are waiting to read their poems, but I want our poet of honor and Dr. Obari Gomba to give us a call to action, a pledge for action, after which, that should take about 3 to 5 minutes, after which we'll have Ugu Leonard read. Ugu Leonard, I called you earlier. I can see your message where you said, will you be able to read? I called you earlier, you were not in. Some of the persons I've called them before. Ugu Leonard will be there, Fortune George, Uzo Wamara, and whoever else. I mean, the meeting can officially close, but poetry can still be served. You know, that jollof that is remaining in the cooler after the party, that we used to share after the party. Call to action, sir, Odia Ofemun and Dr. Obari Gomba. Where do we go from here?
I will read from a collection from the Harbor Master poems.
Spotlight on the speaker, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you, sir. Everyone, please, this is a call to action.
Now they ask, what have your verses done to save lives and to halt the rush of monuments to greed at Heroes Acre? What have your metaphors recouped or changed for those trumped by buzzards and scavengers of our failed republic? Now that gong heartily, we must stand by the wronged who are not always right, nor deserve to be knocked out in the staged riots and unequal duels that daily living has become. for those on the beaten down side of Afris. Those who refuse to be mere fluff under hooves of loot laws, spreading palpable dwells, instant darkness, yielding impregnable nights, humored by mimic messiahs, bearing mimic lanterns to outwit cockroaches and glorious dawns. Let them ask, what have your verses really done? And what have your metaphors achieved? For tongues unfettered that cannot be bribed, let them ask how mere pollens overcome boulders to insert evergreen shoots that turn to pine trees, poplars on rock mountains. It is simply my way of saying whatever symbol can change the way we look at anything in the world as to the possibility of action, because it is only by how you see that you determine the way the world should be changed.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that is one word enough for all the wise people in this room and those who are listening to us outside. Dr. Barry Gomba, you have something to say to us as well?
All right, let me just make a few quick points. One, we have to be more sensitive to the environment. Two, we have to apply writing as a tool for environmental activism. Three, we have to understand that to fight for the environment is to fight for life on Earth. To fight for the environment is to fight for our lives. Four, industries, of course, are key to development, but industries should not be allowed to profit at the expense of the environment. Five, any industry that pollutes and or pillages the environment is in the business of destroying life. Six, whereas communities tend to bestow ownership on men, women and children have equal stake in the environment and are often more impacted by pollution and environmental depopulation. Seven, and I'll soon be through, 7 of all the sectors in our cultural life in this country, it appears that writing and writers have the credit for bringing the subjects of the environment to the front burner of public consciousness. Since Ken Saro-Wiwa, Tanoro Jaide, Nimo Basi, Ogagai Fowodu, Albert Otto. And finally, what this means is that for our society to wake up to its responsibility to the environment, Nigerian writers must continue to do more. For if writing is not matched with environmental activism, it is possible that this society will not wake up from its habits of environmental despoliation for a very long time to come. I call on every writer and every participant on this platform to join the action to save the environment. It is for our good, it is for the good of our children, it is for the good of our communities, it is for posterity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And I will just add to this call before we go back to reading poetry. Dr. Gomba has mentioned all of the writers on the environment. I want to include Sophia Obi, who's been writing on issues of the environment, and my humble self, who has also added something to the conversation about issues on environment as a writer, and all other women who are up and coming, who, like we mentioned before, after this conference, will be receiving essays, will be receiving poems, will be receiving short stories on issues, writings on the environment, for an anthology on writings for the environment. Lastly, before we go to the next person, I want to read from my collection, Sense on Scoundrels, who you can see the poem titled, Who is Listening? I Am Talking. I am talking, who is listening? There is fire, not on the mountain. It is burning, I am burning. Like a volcano melting a rock, I am talking. There is fire in the air burning like dry grass. So much my throat is sore. It is sore as gangrene, oozing blood. I am talking. I am thirsty because there is water. So much water in the delta. Folks say I am a mermaid. I lack the strength to contest because thirst saps my body. I am talking. I am thirsty because matter floats on my water. Like a spider in my throat, it gnaws me sick. Leaves are seas drained, swamping our environments. I am talking. I am crying because I should be happy. My siblings are awesome. Boys with taut muscles and impressive biceps. Girls delicately framed like hen's eyes. Everyone covets my home. I am talking. I am crying. Migraines have become second nature. Tears have formed granite in my eyes, mourning the loss of wonder. And do they like us still? Did they ever like us? I am talking, but who to? I could be useful as a rag. There is fire in the air. So much water, my thirst is getting worse. Even I can mend the injustice. Who is listening? I am talking. It's a call for everyone to speak. It doesn't matter whether you think they're hearing you, but let us speak up for our environment. I yield the floor now to the other people on the list to read their works. Finehas, please. Is Finehas in the room? Okay, Fortune George, Leonard Ugu. Is Loretta in? If they're not, then...
Greetings, everyone.
Fortune, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Please, go ahead.
Okay. This poem is titled The Sahara.
Susan Wamara available.
Okay, greetings, everyone.
Who is the person on now, please? Fortune.
Yes.
Can you mute other people, please?
Okay, this poem is titled The Sahara Eats Grass.
Okay.
Should I go on?
Yes, I'm waiting for you to formally end this program and then we'll just keep listening to whoever is available.
Should I go on?
Can you read your poem so that we can formally end it and continue with others who are available?
Okay. Lake Chad blossomed once alongside the mighty Sahara, but the Sahara drinks water. 38,000 square kilometers goddess, whom the world sought after like King Solomon, is now a speck of what she once was. How pathetic. If herdsmen be heard, you would see that this cold mini-war is about who feeds first. Greener pastures are sought in the south because the Sahara chews grass, gobbling down the greens alongside our cows, but the Sahara is not the only culprit. We are accomplices to this crime. Our activities has sucked dry the soil. Our relationship with Mother Earth is parasitic. We are prodigal children who have sentenced her to serve as source and support, and she has served well. And now her wrath is upon us. How long before the great desert aids us to devour ourselves? All we have to do is take. All we have ever done is take. And all Mother Earth wants is for us to give back. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Mr. Finehas Udoyo, are you in the room? Are there any other people who are on the list to read? Who's on Wamara?
There's other people in the house.
Yes. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are hearing you, sir. 1 minute, sir.
Hello?
Please go on, sir. Go on, sir.
All right. My poem is entitled Band of Old Men. This green and fraying land is seized and squeezed by creaking bones. No space or stage saved for the yearly young. The tree that won't bend to the whirling wind will bear the brunt of bearing the broken back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Fina Sudoyo, are you in the room? Are there any other persons who were in line who I have missed?
Yes, you've just missed me. I have a poem to present.
Mr. Finehas.
So I have a poem to present. And
Leonard, please take your piece now. Can every other person do it?
Okay, the title of my poem is Divided Unity. Divided Unity. What a shame we live in a country where cows are given tribal marks without entry. Sheep moo, heavy steps on hopeless grasses, stems and roots in tears, endless grazes. When we hear a herdsman approach our farm like a accompanying Goliath with no harm, boom, 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 each one on holy blood, eager to hurt. 50 men murdered in cold bath and put in a hut. Our lives has been snatched in their sight, like a wallet ripped bare in naked light. What do we feed? What do we feed on if our farms have been deserted? Yes, cattle home of massacre and the gory sores of tears. Drip like pines in the forested of tears, in the forested of fears. They have hung their shoulders on the rock of our hope. Now, how do we cope? For rocky men whom we shake hands with have same tribal marks on their faces as the mark on the face of their human cows and of different sizes. What a shame that we live in a country where we hear empty echoes with sultry. Yet, they pledge to defend her unity for 60 years at the pulpit of liberation, not knowing we listen to our castration. Power stood on the side, marginalization high on the right, yet we pledge to defend her unity. Let our wailing tears still the anger of God, for man is man, not animal in the mud. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Leonard.
Now, what is the level that of the class?
Can you mute Leonard? Chukwudi, please. Fire Zuko, are you on? Can you mute them?
Yes.
Is Fire Zuko on? Pius, you have 1 minute. Somebody is unmuted. Pius is a memocone, please. Pius, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, it's unmuted. I thought you were hearing me. It's unmuted.
No, please, and please make it brief.
Yeah, very brief, very brief. It's unmuted. Can you check again?
Yes,
Can
go
you hear
ahead.
me?
Go ahead.
Okay, fine. I said the title of the poem is Poison Fish.
Yes.
Oh, my sweet poison fish, caught in the ocean of crude, constantly oozing out of the crude oil through the harvested rusty pipes, crisscrossing my backyard. Our riverbanks are stained with rainbows. How safe are my sentenced fish, suffocating in the seashore For the black gold have trapped them. Even the broken marriage have cost many marriages. Where are the red crabs once humiliated? Now bought with high prices. They are all suffocating and humble. Oh, yesterday was where my education rely on the seafoods. How sweet is this poisoned fish now soaked in gold-plated dish. This is not our rotten fish with endless flow stations. See the dead fishes boiling at the sea coast. In the poor man's pot soaked in shell oil. We are all doomed with this benzene fish, poisoned daily by the coal fire, and their evil deeds not tired. We are buried every day with the mangrove. Their homes are torn like a desert. This is the price of our madness as we lack kindness. I hope this poisoned fish will not fast and run like a coronavirus on us, for we are all victims. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pius. I mean, all of us are...
Nothing they have. Nothing.
Can you unmute this?
Thank
you, Pius. And remove the Okay. Thank you, Pius.
I just
Thank you. We were all witnesses to what happened. All of the fishes we saw lying across the coast of the seas in the Niger Delta recently. And we have had cause to listen to the authorities say that they've done some investigations about the sudden deaths in Bonny. I don't know what the conclusions of those investigations are, but there's suspicion that the fishes that were dying in their numbers were as a result of human activity in terms of petroleum exploration and the rest of them. So this poisoned fishes just brings all of that to mind. More reason why we should all be aware and sensitive to the issues of the environment. I would like to formally say that this Dialogue and Poetry Fest has ended now. We are so happy to have had all of you, special guests, eminent persons, attended, poets, journalists. Thank you so much to all the journalists who are in the house. They have shown interest in this event from day one. They have indicated to me how important this issue is, because as journalists, they are also the ones who are going to send out the messages of solidarity, of change that activists and writers send in issues of the environment. So we thank the journalists in the house. Thank Dr. Obarigomba. I don't know if he's still here. Mr. Chizi Ogumbada, can you just wave to us again? Thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you, Ms. Ememokun. Always a pleasure to have you. She has supported REDi, this organization, on some of the activities that we've done. We've held workshops for women in communities talking about issues of the Niger Delta. And I can tell you that before I decided to facilitate this event, it is because she introduced me to the women in the communities in the Niger Delta, and the conversations that I had with them, I really cannot shake it away. I have been occupied with other things, including my own self, and I cannot forget them. I cannot just push it out of my mind. The stories are many. They need to be told by all of us. The women in the Niger Delta have been through a lot. Women of Nigeria have been through a lot. Nigeria has been through a lot due to human activity that is destroying natural habitats and endangering us even ever more. We have seen the COVID-19 pandemic now upon us. We have seen regional, local borders closed, and we are now locked into our own environment. So if we need fresh air, for instance, if I needed to breathe air that wasn't laden with toxins like carbon, I cannot even go to Calabar right now and breathe some of the freshest air in Nigeria. I can't go to Calabar, I can't move. It's COVID-19, I have to be in one place. So what happens? So if we want to kill ourselves, like they say in street parlance, we die here. So we die here, or we stop human activity, we agitate for an end to human activity that is threatening our lives. We are threatening the lives of other species, and as a fight back, when they are all gone, the things that would have protected us, that would have enhanced our lives and livelihood, when they are all gone, our own lives are threatened. So post-COVID-19, I think we should all now realize that we are stuck here. We are for nature. We can't do away with nature, because if nature wants to get up and fight us back, then we are all gone. Thank you so much to everyone who's made this dialogue possible. Tamino Felix is here. Chukwudi is here. Victor Ungwaru is here. All of the people who are working with us at REDi for Development Initiative, who have put in the work day and night to make sure that this event came out successfully. Finehas, my co-host, you've been awesome. Yinka Olatu, I'm so sorry, I don't want to pronounce that wrongly. Yinka, thank you so much. You have been with us from the beginning of the event. Yinka is with this day, and she said, look, this event is too important to be ignored. We want to have it on this day, whether we can find space offline or not, we will put it online. We have Gregory in the house, Pius. Let me try and see if I have missed. Well, if I didn't call you, it is not because, oh, Uchechi is my sister, one of the fiercest advocates of justice that I know of. Uchechi, thank you for being in this room. Chukwudi, I've said hello to you. Inyang is here. And all of the guests who have had to leave for one reason or the other. Mr. Nimobasi has to be in a webinar that is going on right now, and Ms. Betty Abba also on World Environment Day. My sister Ikwo, thank you for taking us back home a little bit, and let's do this more. So on this note, I formally call